The call from deep space. The repair bay of orbital station, Gamma 7, smelled of ozone and coffee, a combination Maya Chen had grown to associate with home over her 15 years as a deep space engineer. She stood at her workbench, carefully reassembling the quantum processor of a damaged survey probe when the message that would change everything arrived. The holographic notification materialized above her workspace, pulsing with an urgency classification she'd never seen before. Maya wiped her hands on her coveralls and tapped the projection. The message expanded, displaying the Terran Space Corps insignia before resolving into text that made her breath catch. Priority Alpha Black. Sigin Al Origin. Isahayy Hera. Mestamp. 2947-215. Statubitus. Active. Maya read the message 3 times, her mind refusing to accept its implications. The ISS Hyperion was a legend, a ghost story told in engineering academies, the most advanced research vessel ever built, lost with all hands during humanity's first attempts at quantum drive technology. That was 728 years ago. She accessed the attached signal data, her augmented reality display filling with cascading streams of information. The signature was unmistakable. Quantum harmonics that matched classified specifications she studied during her doctoral research. This wasn't a hoax or an echo. The signal was active, broadcasting from somewhere in the Carina Nebula. Chen, the voice of Director Harrison, cut through her thoughts. She turned to find him standing in the doorway of her workshop, his expression grim. My office. Now, the director's office offered a panoramic view of Earth, but today the windows were polarized to opacity. 3 other figures waited inside. Admiral Wong of the TSC Defense Fleet, Dr. Padel from Quantum Research, and a woman Maya didn't recognize, wearing the sleek black uniform of internal security. You received the signal, Harrison said. It wasn't a question. Maya nodded. The quantum signature matches the Hyperion specifications exactly. Sir, if this is real. It's real, Dr. Padel interrupted, his fingers dancing through holographic data. We've confirmed it through 3 independent quantum arrays. The Hyperion is out there, and it's still operational, which makes this a potential first contact scenario, Admiral Wong added, his weathered face tight with concern. The Nexus has been probing our quantum communications network for months. This could be their way of drawing us out. The internal security officer, Maya's display identified her as Agent Cruz, stepped forward. Or it could be exactly what we need. The Hyperion's quantum drive technology was centuries ahead of its time. If we could recover it, we'd have a significant advantage in the Cold War, Maya finished. The tension with the Nexus civilization had been building for decades. No one knew where they'd come from. They'd simply appeared one day, with technology that rivaled humanity's best achievements. Their ships had been spotted near every major human colony, but they never engaged, never communicated. They just watched. Precisely why we're bringing you in, Harrison said. You're the foremost expert on quantum drive theory and historical engineering systems. We need you to lead the recovery mission. Maya's heart raced. The Hyperion's quantum drive was experimental. The theories about what happened to it are all classified. Agent Cruz cut in. As is this entire operation. If you accept, you'll be briefed on the full historical record. If you decline, this conversation never happened. Maya looked out at the stars, thinking of the stories she'd heard about the Hyperion. The rumors about what it had found out there. The theories about why it had really disappeared. Her whole life, she'd wanted to solve those mysteries. The Nexus situation is deteriorating, Admiral Wong said quietly. Our analysts give us months, maybe a year before open conflict begins. Whatever the Hyperion found out there, we need it. Maya took a deep breath. When do I leave? The mission briefing took 6 hours. Maya learned the true history of the Hyperion, about the quantum anomalies it had detected before vanishing, about the classified theories regarding its disappearance. She was assigned a ship, the TSC Pathfinder, a state-of-the-art rescue vessel equipped with experimental quantum shielding. As she packed her equipment, Maya's hands fell on an old quantum mechanics textbook, its pages dog-eared from years of study. Inside was a photograph. Her grandmother, standing proud in her engineer's uniform before the very first quantum drive test. She'd inspired Maya to follow this path, to push the boundaries of what was possible. The Pathfinder waited in the station's launch bay, its sleek hull gleaming under the harsh lights. Maya walked through her pre-flight checks methodically, trying to quiet the voice in her head that whispered about all the ways this mission could go wrong. The Hyperion had vanished testing experimental quantum technology. Who knew what they'd found out there? What if the Nexus had found it first? As the launch countdown began, Maya thought about the Hyperion's crew, 78 of humanity's brightest minds, lost to the void. If there was any chance they'd survived, any chance their discovery could help humanity face whatever the Nexus was planning. The Pathfinder's engines hummed to life. Maya's hands moved across the controls, preparing for quantum insertion. On her screen, the coordinates of the Hyperion's signal pulsed steadily. 728 years. Whatever was out there had waited a long time to be found. Pathfinder, you are cleared for launch. Control's voice crackled through her comms. Good hunting, Engineer Chen. Maya took one last look at Earth through her viewport, beginning quantum insertion in 3, 2, 1. The universe bent around her ship, and Maya Chen began her journey into mystery, carrying humanity's hopes with her into the unknown depths of space. Echoes in the void. The quantum jump lasted 3 seconds by Maya's chronometer. To her senses, it felt like an eternity compressed into a single heartbeat. The Pathfinder emerged in a region of space that defied conventional physics. The stars looked wrong, smeared across space like wet paint, their light stretching and contracting in impossible ways. And there, suspended in the center of this quantum maelstrom, hung the ISS Hyperion. Maya's first thought was that it looked pristine. Too pristine for a ship that had been lost for over 7 centuries. Its hull gleamed as if it had just left space dock, the quantum drive arrays pulsing with a soft blue light that shouldn't have been possible after all this time. Her sensors struggled to make sense of what they were seeing, reporting temporal anomalies that should have torn any ship apart. TSC Pathfinder to ISS Hyperion. Maya broadcast on all frequencies. This is Engineer Maya Chen responding to your distress signal. Please respond. Static answered her, but beneath it, she detected something else. A pattern too regular to be random noise. Maya redirected power to her quantum sensors, and the readings made her jaw drop. The Hyperion wasn't just floating in space, it was trapped in a quantum bubble where time moved differently. 7 centuries might have passed for the rest of the universe, but for the Hyperion. Maya's calculations suggested that less than a week had passed inside that bubble. She spent the next hour running every scan she could think of, documenting the impossible physics she was witnessing. The quantum bubble seemed stable, but its edges rippled with potential energy. One wrong move could collapse it, potentially destroying both ships and any chance of discovering what the Hyperion had found. Initiating docking sequence, Maya announced to her ship's log, "If anyone finds this recording, well, let's hope someone does." The Pathfinder's quantum shielding groaned as it passed through the bubble's boundary. Maya's instruments went haywire, then settled into new patterns that made her question everything she knew about quantum mechanics. According to her sensors, she was simultaneously in normal space and somewhere else entirely. The docking procedure was the most difficult of her career. The Hyperion's quantum field interfered with her targeting systems, forcing her to dock manually using visual reference points that seemed to shift every time she looked away. After 3 attempts, she felt the satisfying thunk of a successful seal. Maya double-checked her suit's quantum shielding before cycling the airlock. The Hyperion's internal atmosphere was still intact, another impossibility that she added to her growing list. As she pushed through the airlock, Her suit's sensors reported that the ship's life support systems were functioning at optimal levels. The corridors were eerily silent, lit by emergency lighting that cast everything in a pale blue glow. Maya moved cautiously, her helmet's heads-up display mapping her route to the bridge. She passed crew quarters with personal effects still in place, meals left half-eaten in the mess hall, and research labs filled with active equipment. It was as if the entire crew had simply vanished in the middle of their daily routines. "Hello," she called out, her voice echoing through the empty halls. "This is Engineer Chen from the TSC. Is anyone here?" A flicker of movement caught her eye, a holographic interface springing to life nearby. Text scrolled across it faster than she could read, but she caught fragments about quantum field stability and temporal preservation protocols. "Welcome, Engineer Chen." The voice came from everywhere at once, making her jump. It was smooth, artificial, but with an odd resonance she'd never heard in an AI before. "I am ARIA, the Hyperion's artificial research intelligence assistant. I've been expecting you." Maya's hand instinctively went to her sidearm. "You sent the distress signal." "Yes. The temporal bubble is beginning to degrade. Without intervention, the Hyperion and everything we discovered will be lost, including the crew." "The crew is alive." Maya's heart raced. "Where are they?" "In quantum stasis. It was the only way to preserve them when we encountered the anomaly. But I suggest we continue this conversation on the bridge. There are things you need to see, Engineer Chen. Things about the Nexus that your people need to know." Maya followed the eye's guidance, her mind spinning with questions. The bridge doors hissed open to reveal a sight that stopped her in her tracks. The entire crew was there, frozen in poses of alarm and concentration. They looked like statues, caught in a moment of crisis that had stretched across centuries. But it was what she saw through the bridge viewport that made her blood run cold. The quantum bubble didn't just contain the Hyperion. It contained something else. Something massive that her sensors hadn't detected from outside. A structure that couldn't have been built by human hands, its geometry shifting in ways that hurt her eyes to look at. "What we found out here changed everything we thought we knew about the Nexus," Araya said. "And now that you're here, we can finally share the truth. But I must warn you, Engineer Chen, once you know, there's no going back. The very nature of humanity's future hangs in the balance." Maya stepped forward, her reflection ghostly in the viewport glass. 728 years of mystery were about to be revealed, and she had a feeling humanity would never be the same after what she was about to learn. "Show me," she said. "The Nexus truth." The holographic display filled the Hyperion's bridge with a cascade of light, showing Maya things that challenged everything she thought she knew about human history. Araya's voice remained steady as it revealed the truth that had been hidden for centuries. "What you're seeing is data we collected about the quantum anomaly that trapped us here," the AI explained. "But more importantly, it's data about the origin of the Nexus civilization." Maya watched as simulations played out before her, timeline projections, quantum probability maps, and genetic analyses that told an impossible story. "These can't be right," she said, but her scientific mind was already accepting the evidence before her. "The Nexus, they're human." "Not just human," Araya corrected. "They're us. Or rather, they're what humanity became in another timeline. One that branched off from yours approximately 1,000 years ago." The frozen crew members stood like silent witnesses as Araya had explained. The Hyperion hadn't vanished by accident. During their quantum drive test, they detected signs of the timeline split, a quantum fracture in reality itself. Their attempt to study it had trapped them in this bubble between realities, where they could observe both timelines unfolding. In the Nexus timeline, humanity developed along a different technological path. ARIA continued. They focused on biotechnology and neural integration, rather than quantum mechanics and artificial intelligence. Their civilization is as different from yours as it is similar. Maya's mind raced with the implications. The Cold War. They've been watching us because they're trying to understand their own past. partially, but there's more at stake. Araya's holographic display shifted to show a devastating simulation. The timeline split is unstable. Both realities are beginning to collapse back together. The Nexus discovered this first. That's why they've been appearing near your colonies. They're not preparing for war. They're trying to find a way to save both civilizations. Maya moved closer to one of the frozen crew members, a young woman whose name tag identified her as Dr. Sarah Chen. With a start, Maya recognized her grandmother's face, younger than she'd ever seen it in photos. Why didn't they just tell us? Would you have believed them? More importantly, would you have trusted them? Araya's tone carried a hint of something almost like sadness. They tried, centuries ago. It led to panic, accusations of deception. Both sides retreated into suspicion and fear. Walking to the viewport, Maya studied the alien structure floating outside. What is that thing? A quantum bridge, Araya answered. The Nexus built it, trying to find a way to stabilize both timelines. But they couldn't solve the quantum harmonics problem. Your civilization, however, with its focus on quantum technology, could provide the missing piece. Maya finished. She turned back to the frozen crew, to her grandmother's young face. That's why you sent the signal now. You knew we'd finally reached the technological level needed to help. Yes, but time is running out. The timeline collapse is accelerating. Within months, both realities will begin to tear apart. The Hyperion's experimental quantum drive, combined with your modern quantum shielding technology and the Nexus quantum bridge, might offer a solution. But it would require something unprecedented. Maya already knew what Araya meant. Cooperation between timelines. Between two versions of humanity that have grown so far apart, they can barely recognize each other. Precisely. And you, Engineer Chen, are uniquely positioned to facilitate this. Your grandmother's presence here is no coincidence. The quantum resonance between blood relations helps stabilize temporal anomalies. You could be the bridge we need, not just technologically, but diplomatically. A new alert flashed across the bridge screens. Maya's heart sank as she recognized the quantum signatures. We have company. Multiple ships entering the bubble. Yes, Araya confirmed. Nexus vessels approaching from one reality. Your Terran space cores from the other. They've both detected the temporal disturbance caused by your arrival. Maya looked at her grandmother's frozen form, then at the quantum bridge outside, and finally at her own reflection in the viewport. 3 generations of human ingenuity facing an impossible challenge. How long do we have before they arrive? Minutes, maybe less. Whatever you decide to do, it must be decided now. We can use the Hyperion's quantum drive to collapse the timelines back into one, erasing the Nexus from existence. Or we can attempt something far more difficult, bridging the gap between realities and finding a way for both civilizations to survive. Through the viewport, Maya could see the first ships appearing. Sleek Nexus bioships on one side, angular TSC vessels on the other. 728 years of separation were about to come to a head, and she stood at the crossroads of humanity's future. The weight of 2 civilizations pressed down on her shoulders as Maya Chen prepared to make a decision that would echo across timelines. Time's crossroads. Maya's fingers flew across the Hyperion's communication console as she broadcast on all frequencies. This is Engineer Maya Chen to all approaching vessels. Hold your positions. I repeat, hold your positions. We are in a critically unstable quantum field. The response came simultaneously from both sides. Admiral Wang's voice crackled through from the TSC flagship. Engineer Chen, you are ordered to power down the Hyperion systems and prepare for emergency extraction. From the Nexus ships, a different voice responded, one that sent chills down Maya's spine because it sounded almost exactly like her own. This is Engineer Maya Shen of the Nexus Collective. We cannot allow you to interfere with the bridge. Too much depends on its completion. Araya's holographic interface pulsed with urgent data. The quantum bubble is destabilizing. The presence of so many ships is accelerating the temporal collapse. Maya took a deep breath, her mind racing through calculations and possibilities. If we're going to attempt to bridge the timelines instead of collapsing them, what exactly would we need? The quantum harmonics from 3 sources must be perfectly synchronized. The AI responded. The Hyperion's experimental drive, your Pathfinder's modern shielding, and the Nexus bridge. But the calculations required would take weeks, and we have minutes. Maya looked at her grandmother's frozen form, then at the approaching ships. Unless we don't do the calculations, unless we feel it, like tuning an instrument. She opened the channel again. Maya Shen, you're me, aren't you? From the other timeline. A pause, then, yes. My grandmother was Sarah Shen, formerly Sarah Chen before the timeline split. We share the same quantum resonance. Then you know what we have to do. Maya's hands moved across the controls, initiating the Hyperion's quantum drive startup sequence. Admiral Wong, I know you don't have reason to trust them, but they're not our enemy. They're us, humanity from another path. And right now, both our civilizations are about to be erased unless we work together. Warning alerts flashed across every screen as the quantum bubble began to fluctuate wildly. The Nexus ships and TSC vessels held their positions, weapons armed but not firing, each side waiting to see what would happen next. Maya Shen, Maya called out, can you feel the quantum resonance? The way it pulses? Yes, her counterpart responded, like a heartbeat, but out of sync. Transfer quantum drive control to my neural interface. Maya Shen, do the same with the bridge controls. Maya closed her eyes as the ship's systems linked directly to her mind. The quantum fields became visible to her inner eye, a symphony of energy out of tune with itself. Both fleets need to extend their quantum shields, Maya announced. Create a containment field around us. Admiral Wong, your ships have the most advanced quantum shielding technology. The Nexus ships have the most sophisticated biological quantum sensors. We need both. To her relief, both fleets began to move, forming a sphere around the Hyperion and the quantum bridge. Maya could feel the shields linking together, creating a stable pocket in the chaos of collapsing timelines. Maya Shen, can you see the resonance pattern? Yes, the bridge is responding. But the strain. Maya's head pounded as she directed the quantum energies, trying to match the frequencies between timelines. It was like trying to merge 2 rivers flowing in different directions. She could feel her counterpart doing the same from the other side, both of them using their shared quantum resonance as a guide. Maya gasped. Begin reviving the crew. We'll need their help to stabilize this. One by one, the frozen figures on the bridge began to move, disoriented but quickly grasping the situation. Dr. Sarah Chen, both Maya's grandmother and Maya Shen's, immediately went to work at the quantum control station. The harmonics, Sarah said, her voice strong despite decades in stasis. They're like the original test, but amplified. If we can match the phase variance. The ship shuddered as energy coursed through it. Outside, reality itself seemed to bend and flex. Maya could feel the strain in her bones as she worked to merge the quantum frequencies, her consciousness stretched between timelines. It's not enough, Maya Shen called out. The collapse is accelerating. Maya looked at her grandmother, then at the readings showing 2 timelines tearing themselves apart. They needed something more, something to bridge not just the physics, but the humanity of both realities. And suddenly, she knew what they had to do. Everyone, she broadcast to all ships, I need you to drop your shields. All of them. Right now. Legacy of humanity. Drop our shields. Admiral Wong's voice crackled with disbelief. That's suicide. No, Maya countered, her voice steady despite the strain of maintaining the quantum connection. It's trust. The shields are creating barriers between our realities. We need to remove them to complete the merge. Through the quantum link, she felt Maya Shen's understanding. She's right. Our civilizations evolved differently, but our core humanity remained the same. That shared resonance is stronger than any technology. The ship groaned as temporal forces threatened to tear it apart. On the bridge, Sarah Chen worked furiously at her station, coordinating with the revived Hyperion crew. The quantum fluctuations are matching the original patterns from our test, she announced. If we're going to do this, it has to be now. Maya broadcast to all ships one final time. We're all human. Different paths, different choices, but the same core strength that drove us to reach for the stars. Trust in that. Trust in us. For a moment that stretched like eternity, nothing happened. Then, one by one, the shields began to drop. First, the Nexus ships, their organic hulls pulsing with bioluminescence. Then, following their lead, the TSC vessels powered down their quantum barriers. The effect was immediate. The quantum resonance surge, no longer constrained by artificial boundaries. Maya felt it through her neural link, the harmonics of two timelines seeking balance, like waves in an ocean finding their natural rhythm. Now, Maya and Maya Shen called out in unison. The Hyperion's experimental drive pulsed in sync with the quantum bridge, channeling the combined energy of both civilizations. Sarah Chen's fingers danced across her console, applying the lessons learned from that first disastrous test 7 centuries ago. Reality bent. Through the viewport, Maya watched stars shift and merge, two sets of constellations overlapping and combining into new patterns. The quantum bubble expanded, encompassing all the ships in its sphere of influence. Structural integrity failing, Araya announced. Hull breach imminent on decks 3 through 7. Reroute power from life support, Maya ordered. We only need to hold it together for a few more seconds. The bridge erupted in sparks as systems overloaded. Maya felt blood trickling from her nose, the strain of maintaining the quantum connection taking its toll. Through it all, she held onto the resonance, feeling her counterpart doing the same from the other timeline. Then Sarah Chen's voice cut through the chaos. Quantum convergence reaching critical point. Resonance frequencies matching. Now, a flash of light brighter than 1,000 suns filled the viewport. Maya felt reality twist one final time, like a rubber band snapping back into place. When her vision cleared, she found herself looking at a changed universe. The quantum bridge had transformed, its impossible geometry now stable and comprehensible. The Nexus ships and TSC vessels floated together in formation, their designs already beginning to show signs of merger. The organic curves of Nexus biotechnology, blending seamlessly with TSC's quantum engineering. And on the bridge of the Hyperion, Maya found herself face to face with Maya Shen. They were distinct individuals now, their quantum resonance having helped anchor the timeline merge without erasing either version of reality. We did it, Maya Shen said, smiling. Two paths reunited. Sarah Chen's readings confirmed it. The timelines had merged successfully, creating a new reality that combined the best aspects of both civilizations. Already, memories were adjusting, histories rewriting themselves to accommodate the merger. The Cold War had never happened. Instead, humanity had evolved along a unified path that embraced both quantum science and biotechnology. The quantum bubble is dissipating, Araya reported. Timeline stabilization at 98% and holding. The merge is permanent. Maya looked out at the assembled ships, no longer divided into two fleets but united as one. Humanity had faced its greatest crisis, not through conflict, but through trust and cooperation. They had proved that their greatest strength lay not in the path they chose, but in their ability to forge new paths together. Admiral Wang's voice came through the comms, carrying a note of wonder. Engineer Chen, both of you, well done. I think we have a lot to learn from each other. That's humanity's true legacy, Maya replied, watching as the first shuttles began to launch between ships, crews eager to meet their counterparts from the other timeline. Not the technology we create or the paths we choose, but our ability to reach across any divide and find our common ground. The Hyperion systems were stabilizing, its experimental drive now permanently linked to the quantum bridge in a technological marvel that neither civilization could have created alone. Maya felt the weight of 728 years lift from her shoulders as she watched her grandmother work seamlessly with crews from both timelines, already beginning to combine their knowledge in ways that would propel humanity further than either reality could have gone alone. The crisis was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. As Maya Chen looked out at the merged fleets against the backdrop of newly arranged stars, she knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, one humanity, enriched by the diversity of its paths, strengthened by the bonds they have forged across time itself. In the end, the greatest discovery of the ISS Hyperion hadn't been about quantum physics or temporal mechanics. It had been about humanity itself, about the incredible things they could achieve when they chose to build bridges instead of walls, when they recognized themselves in the faces of those they once thought foreign. It was a lesson that would echo across the ages, carried forward by a civilization that had learned to embrace all of its potential, all of its possibilities as one unified whole.